tonight, but welcome to Workshop Wednesday, where we're going to be doing something different, and I have no idea if this is going to work or not, and that's part of the fun. Let's put this up here a little bit. I have to move some things around so you can see it a little bit better, but that's fine. I might just move the camera. Let me just see if I can't adjust the camera a bit. That's better. Okay. Perhaps even a little bit more. A little bit more? Yeah, that'll work. Okay. So the goal here is we're going to transfer this onto this. This is a public domain old image from the British Library of a monster going after a child. And I'm going to copy at least the creature over onto this paper, hopefully, using India ink, as it was typically called. And it's now still called that often. And I've got a little dropper here, so I'm going to probably put that actually in a little bowl here like this. So there's some India ink. I'm going to do a little bit more. Very, very dark ink. And I have no idea how this is going to work, or if it will work. One thing I do want to do, though, is put down, I think I have some, yeah. This is palette paper, which is this very substantial, like waxy paper. So that should prevent anything from bleeding through. So basically, the idea here is that I put some ink down here, and then I'm going to basically fold this over onto this, fold it back, and then continue on, which means a couple of things. I need some tape. I'm just going to tape this down to there. In fact, I might use some more of that palette paper. I'm going to tape that underneath here so that again, it doesn't leak through. Oh, it's a little bigger. Is that 2 sheets? I think I got 2 sheets there. I did. Okay. So let me tape this like this and like this. I might use this technique for like role-playing games. And copy maps this way. I think it would be a really neat visual style. But I want to do a kind of an experiment with this first to see what it would look like. And then, I mean, if this turns out to look cool, then that'll be a neat image for sort of D&D like stuff anyway. So then let me tape these together. I'm not quite sure. I think we'll just do like some on top here, and then some on top here, or on the bottom here. I don't care if I end up, messing that up a bit. And then I need a hinge here. Let me see what the person here recommended. Okay, very simple. So basically I will fold it over like this. Tape that down in a nice long line. And then I can hopefully fold this back over. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. All right. Let's see how this works. So the idea here is, again, I'm just playing around here to see if this works, is that you get some India ink on the tip of your thing, and then you brush it here, and then you basically do this. And nothing goes over. Okay, so you need a lot of ink. I see. Because the ink tends to dry very quickly. Okay. Do these large things while it's still wet. Yep. Yeah. He was saying, don't do too much at once. You'll be tempted to do too much at once. And now I see why. I need to tape that down at the other end too, I see. Okay, so we're starting to get some, let me, whoops. Where's my 1 second? Tissues. All right. Clean some of that ink off there. Excuse me. Okay. It's gonna be interesting. All right. So. Oh, I want to tape that down. Oh well. It's definitely not letting the ink through. That's good. Yeah, so now I see what he means. You need to do very small bits at once. Keep forgetting to tape that down. So you make sure you get everything. Interesting, but the problem is it then tends to see that completely obscures the beak because of how thick the India ink is. Maybe I need to lay it down more lightly so it doesn't spread. Yeah, but see, that's already starting to dry. See, it's already mostly dry when I put it on there. That's not bad. But I suspect once I do this, I get a big old blotch. Yeah. Let's do that much and try to spread it out some. Let's just do this. See what that does. Perhaps I need a smaller brush. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Let's thicken up this part of the wing. And we're starting to get something. Interesting. I'm definitely glad I'm trying this. Well, we're getting something wing-like. Let's go here and fill in that wing. Okay, now we have a wing. Let's move on to the body. It's already drying out though. As soon as I get any ink onto there, it dries out almost immediately. So I wonder if that's something I have to play around with my original medium. If that was just printed out, by the way, on regular printer paper here. So yeah, I clearly need more ink. And I suppose I could always, paint on the other side. Let's do that. Do very small bits. Okay. Very quickly. Not what I'm really used to, but definitely interesting. This may turn out to look weird, which would actually be good for a monster. Interesting. I kind of like the Rorschach test sense that this block is turning into. But I don't know if it'll be recognizably like a humanoid creature, or if it'll just look like a weird block. So we'll give him feet. But then the Rorschach test thing might be interesting. It might be a worthwhile visual thing. Give him an arm. I have very little control there, so we'll just have to live with that. Interesting, yeah. It's also the problem with the paper. I'm using this charcoal paper, which is, I think, blotting up way more than I intend. Perhaps a different paper would be better. So that's another thing to experiment with here, which I will probably do momentarily. Okay, yes, we've got some kind of weird creature there. Let's go ahead and thicken up the arms. Whoa, that's a bit too much. But again, that might look interesting. I think I'll just... Yeah, that's nothing wrong with that. He also has those... So that dried before I could get too much of the horn sense in. So let's fill in here. Yeah, I'm feeling like this is oh, interesting. Not much in the way of the horns. Or is it just blotting like crazy? I think my brush needs to be smaller. Okay, we're getting something there. I actually kind of like that. Let's make the eye a little smaller. That's a weird creature, certainly. We could even just brush in a little bit here. I would almost want to dry brush. Let me try like dry brushing that. Can I even dry brush with India ink in this? Not really. Okay. Huh. It's a weird thing, so let's go ahead and look at it. Put the brush down. Whoa. Brush wants to travel. I'll just pull this off. So here's my beastie, which again looks interesting. Like I'm not horrified by that. It's just kind of a weird blobby Rorschach test kind of thing. So let's let that dry for a while, and we'll try a different paper. So this palette paper is not going to work. I got some tracing paper. That'll definitely suck up some ink. But I also have more charcoal. What else? I got some like sketch pad paper. Straight up. this, I got some actual canvas, which seems like a bit much. Let me actually grab just some sketch paper. See what that does. I don't know if it'll suck up the ink enough. We'll need a new, yeah. And also, while we're at it, so first thing we can test is the following. Okay, that definitely takes some ink, no problem. All right, so I think I'm just gonna have to, yeah, pull this whole thing up. And 1 second while I reprint that. In fact, I'll probably reprint it a couple of different times. I'll do a couple of copies of that, yeah. Stand by. Meanwhile, let me grab a smaller pen. Okay. Oh, that's weird. I thought I asked for multiple copies. I guess I clicked the wrong button. What? Do. No. That's all. Zoom. Paper jam. Out of paper? Shouldn't be. Oh, okay. Apparently I have a paper jam. But that is something I can work on later if I need to. All right, so here's a thinner brush. So let's redo. There's my paper. And again, we'll put the wax paper underneath. It's basically wax paper. In fact, if I were doing this again, I'd probably just grab some wax paper instead of these specially formulated sheets. And that's just to keep the stuff from coming through. Actually, what I might do, let me fill that up and pull that up and do that. I'm going to tape down the wax paper and then tape this on top of it so I don't have to pull it up every time. So I think we can just do it maybe top and bottom. Yeah, I shouldn't be doing too much with this, just enough to keep it there. All right, then I need another sheet of the protective stuff. On the underside of this. Okay. And these are more or less. All right, so again, we need a little more prep and we'll be there. Okay. Nope. All right, so that's good. Then we'll go ahead and taper down. That should do it. Sorry for the loud noises. Okay. We're good to go. So we're going to try this again. Let me... India ink. Ooh, that India ink is really interesting. Really drawing in there. Hopefully I can wash that off. All right. So again, I'm just going to do a very small area, and I'm going to do more because I can tell there's not a lot on the brush. The brush is very dry. And then we copy it over. That seems fine. And then there's a lot of ink here, actually. I think I can push that out a lot. Getting a better sense now. Yeah, that's definitely blotting a lot. So, this is not something where you can just lay down ink as much as you want, because when you blot it over, you got to be careful that it doesn't then spread. That seems to be the main worry here, if you will, of making sure that you're not going too crazy with the amount of ink you're putting down on the thing. But it is also good to know that just regular old drawing paper works fine. All right, yeah, we're definitely getting a better sense of the creature with this. And we'll just fill in relatively large spaces with ink here. I'm just kind of having to get a feel for how much ink I can spread on here, quote unquote, safely. Because if there's a big blob, then it spreads. But if there's not enough, then it dries. Okay, interesting. Yeah, there was some in the center there. Yeah, definitely some there. A lot of ink this time. Let's try this. Oh, see, it spread. It gave him wide hips. Interesting. And now it's already drying. So, but you know what? The fact that it's drying is not necessarily a terrible thing. Like, that just means there's slightly less ink on the other side. Yeah. We need some in the center there. We can sort of spread that out a little. Don't want too much down there, so I'm going to kind of pull it up to there. See how that works. Copy it. I might want to go with really, really small bits. Oh, see there, it's almost completely dried. So we need actually some on both. That was almost entirely dried by the time I copied it over. Interesting. Need some more down here. Some more down here. But see, now that there's some ink on there, I suspect it will not dry as quickly. So I don't actually want to copy too quickly. Let's see what happens. Definitely an interesting technique. Ah, see? It just blurred. Okay, once you have some ink on there, going back over it makes it much thicker. That's good to know. Let's see how detailed we can get on these fingers. Oh, that's already dried. Wow. All right, I gotta go. Gotta get it done. Hmm. Let's, well, first get some of this ink off and then go back over the top arm and a little over the bottom arm. And again, that's going to stay for a while so I can kind of spread this out here on the wings. In fact, what if the wings are really, really light? Like, what if I just copied it over like that? Huh? Let's see what happens. I like that idea. Yeah, the wings as barely there. That's interesting. Kind of like that. I'll add a little more ink into there. Interesting. Let's get some more definition on the beak, on the mouth, because I think that's one of the more creepy parts of this creature. Let's see if we get something here. Yeah, we're getting a sense of the beak, but not much. Definitely not much. Let's add a little more ink there. Just to sharpen that up. It's already got a really weird sense to it. And definitely better, definitely more monstrous than what we had before. Let's see if we can't. Oh, let me try. I mentioned before, kind of dry brushing the over here. Can I do that? Can I get very little ink on here? And just, maybe if I just do it this way, just kind of stipple it. That kind of gives it that sense of the fingers being there. And let's definitely darken up the inside. So yeah, so maybe that's a way of doing it. Maybe I just kind of do little bits of ink filling out those blotches and come down again in sort of a beak shape. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think I want the wings to be more obvious. Like, I like the theory of the wings being ephemeral, but I don't think it comes across. I think it just looks like weird, a weird shape, as opposed to actual, half transparent wings. Get there. Yeah, that's better. Like, I'm okay with them being indistinct and not crisp, but I want them to feel more like actual wings. Try to get that sense of feathers there. this looks like when we're done. Okay. Not too bad. I don't like how this leg turned out. I went really too strong on the ink, and it just got really, really weird and blurry. And let's just sort of strengthen up some of those lines. But that's a pretty darn freaky creature. Like, I'm not horrified by that as my basic, as a thing. So, okay. Let's us accept the fact we did something. Do our pieces here. So, do I have a pen? I do. Finished. And that still has some ink on it. I don't like having to reuse this. Or I wish I could reuse this paper, but it's just not happening. 20th June 18. Just trying to keep everything documented. Okay. So, as a reminder, so there's our first one, which does look like a weird thing. And here's our second one, which does look a little closer to a monster, I will admit. Kind of a lumpy butt, lumpy front leg, but we're learning. So, give me one moment to hopefully clear the jam in the printer. If it actually has one. Yep. Well, maybe. Isn't that there? It could be I just jostled it. And, I just need to try again. There's definitely paper in there. Do 2 more copies. Yep. Interesting. There's definitely something going on here. One sec. Do 2 more. There's some ink on one side of the paper. And so apparently something did get jammed in there. Alright, those are coming out, and there's a little bit more. Alright, that last one's clean. Okay. So it wasn't a paper jam, but there was, and you can see here, something got a little funky in there. But this one's actually usable. So I want to do one more, while being a little more conscious of my technique. That'd be nice, being a little more conscious of my technique. Oh, see, some of this did come through, so I'm glad I had the paper down. So let's do this. And we'll do this. And get this out of the way. Out of the way. So we were using just straight up drawing paper, right? Yeah, in fact, is this drawing paper? Yeah, it's drawing paper. No, it's sketch paper. Alright. So, sometimes it cooperates, sometimes it doesn't. And then we grab the waxed paper, palette paper it's called, and use that as an under thing. So again, we don't have the same problem. I could probably just tape that down and then tape this, so we could do that actually. So next time I do this, I will just tape down the wax paper and then tape everything separately, so I don't have to reuse them every time. But I think this will be our last practice round. So, our last practice of this for this evening. So, I'm not gonna be reusing it anyway. All right, and then we prep it and hinge it. And all right. So let's try this again. Using all that we've learned, we'll do the center body. And because our first layer dries quickly, we will immediately do that. And that's it needs a little extra hinging there. Yep, that barely did anything. So we're learning. But I'd rather have less than too much. I'm almost thinking about putting down a layer of ink and then putting down another layer of ink on top of it. Yeah. So if I do this and then brush down into that area, that should sit on there for quite a while. In fact, it'd be kind of interesting to do the center thick and then the sides with one layer, so you get that kind of fuzziness around the edges. That's a thought. So I'm going to do here. Oops. Went a bit too much. That's a lot of ink. And then we can, again, try to fill that in. What do we got? All right. Strong. Oh, it kind of went over the eye. Okay. All right. Fair enough. I'm trying to go around the eye here and just get that nailed down. Oh, see, that's already dried. Jeez. Okay, yeah, just barely getting anything there. That's good, actually. I prefer that. Let's just do that and do the leg. Yeah. So I'm intrigued by this idea that maybe we're going to go real fast, in a sense. And get these very loose shapes in. And that's actually preferable. We can always come back in and sharpen it up. Maybe. All right. So we do an arm. And we do fingers. And we immediately do it. Ooh, wow. We do the other arm. That. That's creepy. Interesting, yeah. Let's fill in the head there and the beak. Oops. Shoot. That's not looking very beak-like. Well, we'll see what we get, and let's fill in some of this up here while we're at it. Very light. Okay, interesting. It's turning into much more of just a weird sort of nightmare creature, which I like. Like, that's pretty much what I'm going for with this. Yeah, getting some of those wings. And we'll probably end up strengthening the wings with this. But we'll just see how little we can add in that sense. This is a fun project. It's a fun experiment. I definitely want to try this with a map. Maybe I will do a map. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, we definitely need more on the top one. Maybe if I can find a nice like D&D map, I'll try this method. I kind of like the idea of having, yeah, interesting. Maybe I'll just, at this point, just going to kind of fill this in a little bit more. I like the idea of making these a little more solid, a little less ethereal. In fact, let's just go ahead and let's see what happens if I go ahead and literally paint in some details, if that improves it or not. Yeah, I like the idea of the anatomy being a little more realistic. There. Fill in the hands a little bit as well. Yeah. But we'll give him his chicken legs. We'll make those feet a little more normal. I don't like how his beak turned out. That's a little more normal, and let's close in the eye. Let's see if we can't get like more firm about the eye. It doesn't really look like an eye. There we go. Yeah. And let's see if we just close that in a bit more. Yeah, that looks a little more. Oops. Yeah. Okay. That looks more weird and awesome. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that. The wings are, I don't know. That's kind of nice. Okay, yeah, we need more sense of the wings being wings. I think that helps. Cool. I like that. That kind of improves the wings somewhat. All right. I'm willing to accept that as being something I made on 20th June 18. Not totally done. I'm going to really quick look for like a D&D map. And see if I can duplicate. Let's grab some maps here. There's this one guy named Dyson Logos who draws really awesome D&D maps, but they tend to be rather big. So I want to see if he has one that's relatively small. That's not too bad. Not too big, I should say. I'll also have to play around with his. He does this really awesome cross-hatching thing, which I don't think I would want to replicate here, unless I had like a calligrapher's pen, which I do. But yeah, that's about right. Okay. And that. Yeah, that's good. One sec. I will, hopefully, I can drag this out. Why can't I drag this out? I know it's draggable. There we are. Let me print this real quick. Alrighty, Daddy. This will definitely be interesting. Yeah. So maybe this time I will go ahead and separate the paper so I'm not wasting it. Maybe, ideally. Man, hello. Why doesn't that want to just come off? There. Okay. There. This one has to come off as well. Hopefully I can just, yep, tear that off there. Tear that off there. Okay, good. So, we want the map. The map. We'll go here. Nice map by Dyson Logos. Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe it's a shame I don't have my calligraphy pen ready to go. But like I said, this will be an interesting project. Interesting idea. Well, you know, hold on. I think they're right over here. Oh, they're not. I don't think they're actually calligraphy pens, are they? They're just pens. No, they have nibs. Been forever since I used one, though. Well, let's try. Sketchbook, which I don't need a new sketchbook here pretty soon. That's exciting. Nice to finish out things. So I think these nibs, you just dip in the ink. Or at least that's what I'm going to do, whether you're supposed to or not. Because I really don't have the patience or interest tonight to dig into that. Looking in. Oh, they have? But then how would you... It's been years since I used these. Yeah, there's definitely a chamber. Do you pop that out? Is there some way of charging the chamber? There must be. Unless you're supposed to, like, buy nibs that are full of ink. No, these are different tips. So sure enough... Oh, I see. So what I would do... Actually, I might do that. I wonder... I mean, my India ink is, after all, in a little nozzle, but I don't think I can fill that effectively. Nope. Okay. Well, there's a failure. The ink thing is just too small for that. All right. What do I do? Grab a tissue and just put that off to the side. Okay, we'll get there some other time. For now, I'm just going to dip the end of this nib in the ink and then draw a line and then try to copy it. And that does not work at all. Is it just not enough ink? Ooh, that's weird. Huh. I mean, I'm laying down ink. I'm not really using the fact that this is a pen at all. I'm just using it as a, basically like a toothpick. I get a little bit. Interesting. Yeah, I'm barely seeing any ink on the paper. That's transferring. Let's just copy that. This seems laborious and unnecessary. Yeah. Oops. Like, it looks interesting, and I can see it being an interesting aesthetic for certain things. But I just can't imagine doing it as a standard practice, if that makes sense. Now let's just do some more. This is also not a great map to use as an example because it's just all of these annoying right angles. And I'm wondering if maybe this kind of nib is just not a great choice for this because you're kind of scratching it onto the surface as opposed to the brush, which is, well, brushing it onto the surface. And so that will get more coverage than the nib will. Yeah, it's not that I don't dislike it as an aesthetic choice. Part of the problem again is just the nature of this particular shape is quite annoying. I just won't get that line in. I guess I could always do this, right? Yeah, I almost don't know why I wouldn't just do this. Just scrape it in with the ink. Like do tracing paper or something, or like a light box would just be infinitely easier. Yeah, for this I would use a light box, but I'd use this basic technique of India ink, probably again with a better pen or something more appropriate to the thing, and that would, I think, give me a better. If I'm just using this to follow the lines, yeah, that'll give me something more what I'm looking for. The transfer quality doesn't really help, so. Come on. Here's what you end up with, which is, again, it looks cool, but I think it'd be better to put a light box underneath the map, put paper on top of that, and then trace over it with a pen, using this technique of just kind of grabbing some India ink and tracing over, which I might do in a future creative project, or Workshop Wednesday, rather. But I think doing the copying over the India ink just isn't really effective. Maybe if I used a brush, but then the brush has got very, very poor control, very poor line control. So maybe a bigger map it would make sense, but yeah, I just don't think so. So okay, we've learned that isn't going to work. That will do it. So that is, and I'm not even going to sign that. Excuse me. So here's what we've got tonight. Here was I believe this is our first attempt. Very blobby. But such is life. And then here was our second attempt, slightly less blobby. And then finally, our third attempt, which turned out rather nice, if I do say so myself. Clear progression there. You know, definitely one looks better than the other, That's a cool little monster that one could put in an illustration. So, no complaints. All right, that's Workshop Wednesday for tonight. Not quite sure what we'll be doing next week. I might be doing a special shirt project I have some weird ideas, but I got to look into that a little bit more. Anyway, that will do it for tonight. Thank you all very much. Until next week, make more stuff.